Yes, good evening, everyone. Today is on Wednesday, and we are happy to be here again to have a conversation with my panelist, Mr. Barak and Mr. Miguda. We will just briefly try to talk about the appointments of the president and what will remain after all the appointments. We've seen that the ODM party has shifted to the government side. So we'll try dissect and see where the country is headed now that the opposition has left the people, and who is going to fight for the people, who is going to, how is the leadership, especially in the parliament, going to be distributed. Yeah, so that is the conversation that we are going to have tonight. And allow me now to give this chance to Mr. Barak to say hi to the viewers before we start the conversation. Karibu, Mr. Barak.
Hello and good evening, viewers. Thank you so much for joining us, and we are looking forward to having a very constructive discussion. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Miguda.
Hello, our viewers. We are back again to discuss the current political occurrences in this country. So we will welcome all of you to kindly follow and give your feedbacks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Miguda. So straight into the discussion of today. We saw the president had a presser. Besides him, uh, was the deputy president and the prime cabinet secretary. He gave a list of the people that he had appointed. Among them were ODM party leaders. If I say ODM party leaders, I simply mean that the two deputy party leaders of ODM and the chairman of ODM and the opposition, the minority leader in the ODM. But again, he has not really finished giving the whole list. We didn't see the appointment of the AG. We are hoping that you would appoint that soon. So my first question is to my guests. What is your opinion? We saw the president reappointing again Mr. Murkomen. In his first batch of cabinet secretaries, we saw a list of reappointment again. Among the things that really angered the people of Kenya, especially the youths, was the behaviors of the honorable member, Mr. Murkomen. He was on a live show telling the people of Kenya on how he was wearing very expensive clothes, watches, and that really angered the people because the people are then saying, what is the need of a cabinet secretary having a watch costing 10 million while someone is going without food? Someone cannot afford basic needs. We've seen the SAIDs, yes, has been reappointed. And now my question to you is, what should we expect from the likes of Honorable Murkomen? When we look at the kind of lifestyle and the leadership that he portrayed, all we could see from him was a lavish, luxurious lifestyle. We were not seeing good leadership qualities in him. But again, the president was told by the people that we don't want this kind of characters. We've seen him reappoint him. What is your take, Mr. Barak? Being that the young people are were very clear, but the president is still making the same mistake. What is your take when it comes to the reappointment that we are seeing the president make, before we get into the ODM members who are also appointed.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I think we need to be fair to the president. In the first, the role of the president is to appoint a cabinet that he can work with to help him deliver on his promises or his manifesto. And I believe appointing cabinet secretaries is the prerogative of the president. We might disagree with his list, but finally, he is the one who knows who works well where and who can help him deliver on his manifesto or whatever he called his plan. And I think Murkomen, today he came out and he apologized for his opulence lifestyle. And I think initially, these people came in government, well, they were so overexcited, and they never knew that their actions might cost them at some point. So I think he was just heading the wrong direction. And now that he realized that his lifestyle was a major concern to the majority of the people of Kenya, I think that's why he came up to apologize. And I believe the move of reappointing the former CSS, it is more political than because president is a politician, and he also he's eyeing for his second term in office. And he also need people who can help him, because politics is about numbers. Who can help you get more votes so that you can secure your seat in government. So we might make noise, but ultimately the president has the prerogative uh, to appoint who he thinks can work with him in his cabinet. And also, you remember Kipchumba Murkomen was among the 3 politicians who resigned from their elective seats to serve in the cabinet. So I believe the president, feeling that he promised him to work with him, and he resigned as the senator for Elgeyo Marakwet, and he joined the cabinet. So as a human, I think just like a friend or a human, you feel that leaving this guy in the cold after resigning from Senate, and Senate, he was sure to serve for 5 years, but now I think he was just out of, maybe number one is political, number two is he's the prerogative of the president to appoint CSS, and number three, now that Murkomen has repented or has apologized, he when given a second chance, he might change his career. I believe he will change, and now that his ministry is now of youth, he's going to interact more with the youth, and I believe people will see from his behavior going forward how he will behave now, if he passes through parliament. And
Yes,
the third reason is just out of friendship. I made this guy to resign from Senate. Now leaving him in the cold could have not been a good thing, maybe according to the president.
Mr.
Yeah.
Barakonias, I have a question on what you just said. It is the prerogative role of the president to appoint the CS or someone that he easily work with. And actually, the constitution gives him, that is what the constitution says. But what about in this situation where, remember, the president was elected by the people, and the people, being the youths, they said, we want you to fire some members of cabinet, and they gave a list of those people that they felt were not right for those positions. And the president came out and said, okay, I've understood what you've said, I'm going to fire them. We saw the president call a presser and he fired them. And now we are seeing a situation where the president is reappointing the ones that the young people said that they didn't want. And now my second question is, Kenya, we have more than 50 million, 50 million, there's a population of over 50 million. Does it mean that among these 50 millions in the Republic of Kenya, they are not technocrats? They are not there are no people who could fit in the shoes of Murkomen. And then my next question to you is, among the other issues that the young people raised, they wanted the president to be nominating or to give chance to people who are technocrats. They didn't want politicians because in their view, they were saying that the politicians are the people who have messed the country. But again, when it comes to the appointment, remember, we as a citizen, we have the right to question whatever the president is doing because in one way or another, it is affecting us as a country. When the president appointed his cabinets, when they were going through vetting, remember the parliament was very clear that as much as we found so many faults among these appointees, let us just give the president because that is what he wants. And we saw the outcome. The country has not gotten out of that. We are still having, we've not forgotten what happened in the first, second years of the president. And this is why we are saying, this is why the people say that the president should fire, and he fired. And again, he has brought these people. Does it really mean that in the Republic of Kenya, political friend is more important than the will of the people? Mr. Barak.
Well, thank you so much. I think the people voted for the president. They gave him the job. And one of those jobs is to appoint his cabinet. And he has done just that, what he was given the job to do. So dictated to him that you should fire this person without, opulence is not breaking the law. Living large is not against the law. It's just that you are showing off your lifestyle, and many people are suffering. So they feel that you are showing off while they are suffering. But in the constitution is very clear that if someone breaks the law, then he's supposed to be fired because he has gone against the constitution of the country. But people had moral issues with Murkomen. And Murkomen, I don't know if you read his apology, acknowledging that he has been living a life that is not pleasant to the people. And the people were angry because of his lifestyle. People, in terms of competency, that's a different, because people said were talking about much about his lifestyle. His watch costing 900,000. And his shoes, I don't think 50,000, a belt, I don't know 60,000. So those were the issues that people, he came out clearly and he confessed that this is how much this is the amount that I bought my watch with. So to me, I still go back to the thing that once you give we gave the president the job, those who voted for him gave him the job to appoint his cabinet that he can work with to deliver. Once people are working to deliver on their manifesto, on their promises, I believe we will get services where we are, and even the cost of living will come down. And if you are able to access services, if the environment is conducive for you to thrive economically, if your security is guaranteed by the state, if education is accessible by every Kenyan, it doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor, if health services are available, drugs are available in the hospitals, it doesn't matter who sits at the cabinet, as long as we Kenyans can receive these services at their convenient time. But if someone who wears a watch that is costing maybe 200 shillings is the cabinet secretary for health, if you go to, like right now, if you go to dispensary, there's no medicine. If you go to this public hospital, there's no medicine. Doctors are sleeping at Rafia House. Yeah, you see JSS teachers were on the street every day striking. Yeah, so personally, I believe if the president thinks in his mind that he can work with these people to correct the mess that he has brought in this country for the last 20 months, going forward, he has understood that this is what Kenyans want. And I think I can work with this guy and this guy and this guy to correct this mess and to move this country forward. Why not? Because what we want down here is to see things change. We want to see a turnaround. We want to see teachers in classes. We want to see medicine in hospitals. We want to see doctors treating Kenyans who need medical services. We want to see teachers in school teaching our children. We want to see comrades, university students getting help and all this funding that they require to learn. We don't want to see students committing suicide because they lack finances. So what my point is, we can talk of who has been given which job, but at the bottom line is, are we able to get this service that we need here, down here? Because all of us, the 15 million, we cannot fit in the cabinet. So at the end of the day, the president will just have to appoint the maximum of 20 and minimum of 14 from among the 50 million of Kenyans. Talking about the technocrats, I believe there are some ministries that has gotten professionals to lead them. For example, the Ministry of ICT, we have a professional of ICT. The Ministry of Health, that lady is a doctor. The Ministry of the Treasury, John Badi is an accountant. Now he's heading the Treasury. And also we have other ministries that Murkomen is a lawyer and now he's heading to sport. So we find that apart from being a technocrat, it is also important for you to show some leadership and managerial skills, because it is your capacity to lead what's going to impact the ministry, and the civil servants who are serving there are going to work. You remember when Dr. Matiang'i was heading education ministry. Matiang'i he was not a professor in education, but you remember the transformation he brought in education. Professor George Magoha was a doctor. He was a professor of neurology. But look at the transformation that he brought in the education sector. So sometimes the ability and the capability of an individual to lead and to show direction, clear direction, that is what makes the whole ministry work towards a certain policy and implementation of certain policy. And those are the things that will trickle down to the mwananchi. You remember this guy called Wycliffe Oparanya. Oparanya was given a ministry of under Kibaki government. I think was regional planning, if I remember. And Oparanya, because of his work under the Nusumkate government, is what elevated him to be the governor of Kakamega, and his work in Kakamega County still stands up to now. He was among the governors who performed exemplary well in this country. And right now, if the minister that he has given, if he will be vetted by the parliament and get the nod of parliament, he is able to transform the SMEs in this country and those cooperatives that they are always crying. I believe because he has shown, he has a track record in that. So I believe the capability of an individual also matters, not only being a technocrat, but also are you able to manage an organization? Because you are going to be the head of that organization. Are you able to inspire change? Are you able to ensure that your staff are buying your idea and they are following your vision to bring transformation, so that at the end of the day, every Kenyan, wherever they are in this country, they will get services that they need. They will feel the change from Nairobi, from the headquarters, to down to coast, to up to Rift Valley and everywhere in this across the country. That is what I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miguda. What's your take? We saw the reappointment of Murkomen vis-a-vis the demands of the youths. They had given a reason why they felt that the likes of Honorable Murkomen were not fit. Do you think that the president making the decision is in the favor of what the people believes? And again, in this reappointment, we've not seen any youth. What is your take on this before we move to the next question?
I think first, Mr. President has made his own choice as the President of the Republic of Kenya, and reappointing Mr. Kipchumba Murkomen. I do believe that Kipchumba Murkomen, other than being appointed as the Cabinet Secretary for uh, sports. He is a close ally to Mr. President William Ruto. So, you know, your friend, some extent, you can favor your friend. You understand such things. Other than being friendship, also, Murkomen was elected at the center for Elgeyo Marakwet, and he was persuaded by Mr. President to drop his to drop his senatorial seat for his appointment. Similarly, Duale was also elected as member of parliament. He was persuaded to drop his member of parliament to join cabinet. So when Duale made a comeback, I expect also Murkomen to make a comeback because all of them were elected, but they dropped their seats to join the cabinet. So I have no problem with that one because Murkomen also, to an extent, is a parent, also an ally. So he also depend on that work to earn a living. So there, I agree with Mr. President in total that Mr. President is very right because he's the one who persuaded these fellas to drop their, because they were elected. If at all they did not leave their elective seats, they could be currently in parliament. But because Mr. President made them to do so, he asked also to bring them back to the cabinet. The reason why you haven't seen people like Ababu Namwamba making a comeback, or Katana, Aisha Jumwa, because these people were never elected, they were just appointed. So Mr. President, there I will not disagree with him. He has done a good thing because he's the one who persuaded these fellas, Duale and Murkomen. And also the reason why Kindiki made a comeback, Kindiki was supposed to be the deputy president. You know that one. So there's no need of dumping these three fellas. They were to make a comeback. Having said that, these appointments, I think whether they are going to satisfy youth or not is neither here nor there. Murkomen has been given a chance to interact with youth. So Murkomen, first, there was no valid corruption case in court about Murkomen. There was no any gross misconduct about Murkomen. Murkomen was dismissed on the basis of Gen Z's protest. But now there was no any corruption allegations which is valid in court. So Murkomen was just dismissed on the allegation of his lifestyle. But I think Murkomen is just a realist human being. He was real to himself, you see. Unlike other ministers who are not real, but behind they are very corrupt compared to Murkomen. So Murkomen has demonstrated his lifestyle is a realist. And I like those who are realists because the fact that he was wearing a watch worth 900K or he was wearing ties worth 20K doesn't mean that those are all corrupt money because Murkomen is a lawyer by profession. Murkomen also was a lecturer at University of Nairobi. Murkomen is having a law firm. Murkomen is also someone who has invested highly in agriculture. So other than being appointed as a CS for road, he also has other means of having other means of income, you see. Okay. Even right now, you see, there are those people, like for instance, John Badi. The fact that John Badi has been appointed today as CS for Treasury,
I'm actually getting into that. On that question, on that point,
why are you interrupting me? I have not finished. Okay, I'm saying John Badi has been appointed today. It doesn't mean that John Badi is a poor Kenyan. No. So tomorrow, if you see John Badi with a TX, you will say that because he has been appointed as a treasury, so that he has been corrupt, he has purchased a TX. So we should, other than holding the government to accountable, at point we need to be reasonable. We don't need to make noise each and every time. So I wanted to make a point about appointment of the current CS. The reason why they have been appointed. You see, I believe in Kenya is a culture that after every elections, people realign and people start planning for the next elections. So there was need to appoint these ODM fellas into this government because everybody are realigning for the next election. When in 2002, when Mwai Kibaki was the president of this Republic of Kenya, there was a time in his term he dissolved the cabinet. Those people were who were dissolved out of the cabinet. 2007, they were opponents for Mwai Kibaki. In 2007, when Raila was prime minister, he fired Ruto. Ruto was Raila's opponent in 2013. So you see, in 2017 also, Uhuru differed with Ruto, but Uhuru and Ruto were rivals in 2022. So after elections, you must identify your future opponent and your future rival, and you must deal with him immediately before 2027. So Ruto has identified his enemies and his allies for 2027. So he's dealing with them rightly as early as now, so that in 2027 he will have an elaborate enemy to fight on. So come 2027, I think this is just politics. These are appointments and appointments, because there will be no Kenya Kwanza versus Azimio, as per the historical events I've just tried to explain. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much on that. We also saw the appointment of, do you say ODM party leaders? I think that is the right wording I should be using, because from the point the ones who appointed were the two deputy party leaders, the chairman of ODM, and the minority leader. So I think I'm right to say the party leaders of ODM were elected or appointed to be cabinet secretaries. So my question to you is, the other time we saw a disagreement within Azimio, and the political parties making Azimio, apart from ODM, they made a press and they said that they were not going to be part of any conversation, or they will not join Kenya Kwanza. After that, we saw some members of ODM starting to have different opinions, led by Orengo and the MP of Embakasi. They had a different opinion. They were saying that ODM should not make a mistake of joining the ruling government, that is the Kenya Kwanza. That statement was also echoed by the Secretary General, but for the Secretary General, it was his was a bit confusing, because at first he accepted and he was with that. He was supporting that, and then after some few days, he changed his tone. So my question to you is, what is your view on the appointment of the ODM party leaders?
Share with us the
Are you?
Yes, continue.
Pardon?
Oh, I'd said that I've given you a chance to continue, Mr. Barak, on your take on the appointment of the party leaders of ODM and what that meant to the position of Azimio, being that ODM is an opposition party.
Well, I think these leaders of ODM, I don't know why it's the Azimio. The major parties in Azimio are ODM, Jubilee, Wiper, Na Kenya, and others. So you've heard that when this conversation came up, Wiper distanced themselves, and DAP, I think, distanced themselves, and also Na Kenya. They literally refused that they will not engage the government in any way. So ODM, as the major party in Azimio, decided to go on, because when they held the Azimio member parliamentary group, they did not agree. So ODM went alone, and they held their own parliamentary group, which they discussed this issue, and they agreed. And the NEC also met and agreed that they are going to work with the president. And this, the honorable, those who are against this issue, like Orengo and Babuino, I think Babuino is a member of the parliamentary
Also
group of
Sifuna.
ODM. Sifuna Sifuna is also a member of as the Secretary General of the ODM. He wrote a letter yesterday claiming that anybody who is joining on their own. And I believe if they really met and Secretary General took the minutes of that meeting, I believe he's the one now who was going against, because as Secretary General, you take the minutes of every meeting that happens, and once majority of members resolve and a resolution is passed, your work is to minute and to keep the records of that meeting. So if the meeting was really held and majority of the members agreed, then Sifuna was on the wrong to communicate otherwise. And now, as far as Orengo and Babuino are concerned, I believe these are, we have freedom of association in this country. When we talk about freedoms, fundamental freedom that we have in this country, the Bill of Rights, it guarantees that everybody has a freedom of association, freedom of expression, freedom of speech. So if the ODM members have been appointed and to the government, they have a freedom of association as individuals, first of all. And remember, Jubilee members are the ones who shifted their allegiance from Azimio to Kenya Kwanza. In fact, these ODM members have been appointed to join what they call the broad-based government or government of national unity. They've not defected from ODM to join Kenya Kwanza, right? So they are still members of ODM, but serving in Kenya Kwanza. This has happened before. It happened under Moi government in the last term of Moi, when NDP members were appointed to serve in the Moi's cabinet. And it was called a cooperation, a merger between KANU and NDP then. Then in 2008, when we've had a grand coalition government after the worst post-election violence we ever had in this country, members were from ODM and also PNU, and for ODM Kenya, that of Kalonzo then. And members were being part of their own political parties, but they were serving one government. And so right now, the focus should be these people who have been appointed into Ruto's government. Are they able to bring change that Kenyans are yearning for? Because they've been given very key ministries. Treasury, the Treasury is the one that brought all this problem that we're having right now. They were the initiator of the finance bill. They came up with these radical measures of taxation that people protested against, and many people have suffered because of them. So right now, John Mbadi is the one who is going to head the Treasury. The wisdom and the knowledge that he has been dispensing in Parliament, he has an opportunity now to turn those things to policies that are going to work, to ensure that taxes come down, the cost of living come down, so that every Kenyan will have a chance to feel that now life is now easy in this country. Opiyo Wandayi has been given energy ministry. Energy is the one that is controlling the cost of production in this country. When energy is very high, because the cost of fuel is very high, when the cost of electricity is very high, the cost of production it must be high, and that translates to the cost of every product that we consume in our households, the cost of products that we go to purchase in the supermarkets. So they have been given very key ministries. So because they have been dispensing knowledge in Parliament, now they've been given an opportunity, because now they are on the decision-making table. The cabinet, cabinet is the highest decision-making organ in the country. That is where policies are made. That is where decisions are made that impact the life of every Kenyan. Therefore, this issue of people saying that ODM members are now in cabinet is like now they've committed a crime. There is no crime. These are Kenyans who have every right to serve in the government just as any other person. The president has the right to appoint anybody as long as they meet the requirement set out in the constitution. They are qualified to serve. Therefore, my opinion is that it is well. These people they've been speaking very eloquently in parliament, especially Mbadi and Opio and I. Now they have an opportunity. Let them implement those things they've been talking about. Oparanya has served in Kakamega. He has served before in Kibaki's cabinet. He has been given another chance to serve this country. Let him serve. Joe has served Mombasa for 2 terms as a governor. He has served as a member of parliament before. He has the issues of mining and blue economy. He is well placed to tackle these issues and transform the blue economy and bring. Blue economy is giving many countries billions of dollars in terms of revenue. Can he translate that into Kenya? He has now an opportunity to do so. So I applaud the president for appointing these guys from ODM, and I believe as a country we have an opportunity to see change in this Kenya Kwanza government, courtesy of these 4 CSs from ODM. Thank you.
Mr. Barak, on what you've just said, you've given instances when the opposition worked with the government. You've given the one when Moi worked with the Raila. They joined, you've said, the NDP. You've also given another instance after in 2007, 2008. Now, my question to you is, we have a new constitution that was promulgated in 2010. And remember, the president swore to respect this constitution and to follow it to the letter. The constitution clearly dictates that the opposition has a role. The ruling party also has a role. And their roles are also separated. When you go, for example, in the parliament, they have different roles, the opposition and the government. But again, remember, ODM is the chief opposition party. They had presented a presidential candidate. They had their manifesto. How do we expect the likes of Honorable Mbadi, Governor Oparanya, Governor Joho, and Opio and I, who came to parliament through an opposition party? They had their own manifesto. How are these people going to realign until they now start actualizing the manifesto of a party that they didn't believe in? Are we going to, as a people, are we not going to see people in the cabinet having divergent opinion? If we say, for example, that Mbadi has to now translate what he has been telling us in the parliament to put it in action. Yes, we accept Mbadi is a learned guy. He has what it takes to be a good treasury cabinet. But remember, from where I sit, I see it as he has been in the position. They had their own manifesto, and that if suppose they were in government, he would really have gotten the right support. Is he really going to get the right support even from the ruling party, from the members of parliament, if suppose there is something that he wants to actualize? What's your take on that?
Thank you so much. I think if you remember, I've said in this show before that we borrowed executive structure, not the governance structure, from the US in this new constitution. And if you remember, when Barack Obama became the president of the US in 2008, and he was sworn in January 2009, Barack Obama was a Democrat, and he won election against a Republican. So automatically, when Barack Obama became the president, it means Democrats took over power and Democrats became the opposition. Do you know that Barack Obama worked with the defense minister who was there during Bush time for his first term, the whole of his first term? He did not change that defense minister. You know, when the president comes into office, he looks for people who can work to help him to implement his manifesto. It doesn't mean that because you are vying in a different party using a different manifesto, now you cannot harmonize your idea, because it is for the good of the country. The ODM, the Azimio manifesto, the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, everything was talking about how they can improve the welfare of this state, how they can improve Kenya, how they can make Kenya a better place. There is no manifesto that was talking about how to make life difficult for Kenya. All of them were talking about how can we make sure that Kenya is a better place. Therefore, it is just a matter of harmonizing what can work best at this moment. So, and I believe when the president was appointing these guys, he knew that these were people who are talking about something different. And you can even see the prime cabinet secretary is on record mocking the bottom-up agenda of Ruto during campaigns before they became buddies. And that has not stopped him from advocating for the bottom-up economic agenda of President Ruto. So when people come together and they are brought together with the desire to serve the nation and make the nation a better place for all of us, divergent opinions are brought arise, but you know how to harmonize your ideas so that you make the life of every Kenyan better by harmonizing your ideas and coming up with policies that can transform the lives of Kenyans. Right? So it doesn't mean that because I don't know, as you said, the ODM was the chief opposition party, and I've said here before that there in this 2020 constitution we don't have opposition party in parliament. We only have majority and minority. The constitution that the old constitution, the British constitution, the Lancaster constitution, is the one that had on opposition in parliament. This one is just minority and majority. And by the way, it is not cast on so that it's only ODM that can be the opposition. Other parties, Azimio was not only ODM. We have Wiper, we have Jubilee, we have DAP. So it is also time for anybody who believes that they can play that role of opposition very well to take it up and play it. It is not cast on so that it must be ODM, and in fact it must be Raila to be opposition leader. Raila is 80 years old next year, for God's sake. He has reached his peak. Yeah? So can we have also somebody else to take up that role and just be opposition? And let us not cast on Raila that you have betrayed this country. He has not betrayed anybody, because it is not a must that Raila must be in opposition. And those who have the ODM is not a must that ODM must also be an opposition party. It is just minority and majority. And if somebody feels that they can be a better opposition, it is time. I think time is, in fact, we have 3 years to go. It is time. They can play that role for 3 years, and then Kenyans will judge them in 2027 so that they can continue being in opposition after 2027, because they are better in opposition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Miguda, what's your take on the appointments of the ODM party leaders to the cabinet secretary, to the position or post of cabinet secretaries? Are they really going to do to listen and to follow the manifesto of William Samoei Ruto, the ruling government? And again, are they really going to get the right support from the members of parliament so that they can also bring their the professional bit while running the cabinet's positions?
I think that is a very nice question. First, Mr. President is using the art of war, that you have to put your friends close and your enemies closer. If you put your friends close and your enemies closer, you have high chances of winning that war. So Mr. President is disposing all tools to fight this thing so-called presidency. And when it comes to the relationship between Odinga and Mr. Ruto, I believe that this is just a contract. You know, Mr. Ruto has given Odinga an offer, and Odinga has accepted it. And in the acceptance of that offer, there are some rewards to Mr. Odinga. And these rewards are, you know, these people are ODM. All of them are ODM. And, you know, he has rewarded his close allies, the loyalists. You know, loyalty is being rewarded in installment, and disloyalty is being punished instantly. And look at, for example, those who have been rewarded. Joho, deputy party leader. Oparanya, deputy party leader. Mbadi, national chairman. Opio Wandai, secretary to political affairs in ODM. So, and Mr. Ruto is an old boy of ODM. So Ruto is the president, ODM. Musalia Mudavadi, prime cabinet, ODM. Treasury, John Mbadi, ODM. Energy, Opio Wandai, ODM. Joe Mining, ODM. Corporate Oparanya, ODM. AU, chairman, Odinga, ODM. So ODM have rewarded old boys because John Mbadi, Opio Wandai, Oparanya Joe were there in 2007 when ODM was being formed. So those people who have been with Baba for long, Baba have rewarded them. And because Ruto and Mudavadi are there, so these are ODM affairs. So they have remembered where they were before. When I want to talk about it, constitutionalism of the agreement, I think in our constitution, because we are the people who are outside protesting that Article 37, right to peaceful demonstrate. Also, there is right to political association. There is right to political choice. There is no anyone who is not allowed to choose any person or any political party. You can join any political party. So by ODM and UDA having an agreement to work together, that is allowed in our constitution. You have a political choice. And furthermore, our country is a multi-party democracy. Kenya is a multi-party democracy. Kenya is not like US where we have the Democrats and the Republicans. There are not permanent Democrats or permanent Republicans. ODM is not life and death. Opposition is not life and death. So Kenya is a multi-party democracy. We have many parties. You can join ODM, you can join UDA. There are no permanent Democrats like USA. If you're a Democrat, you are a permanent Democrat. Kenya, there are no permanent ODMs and there are no permanent UDA. So these people have been rewarded in accordance with the provisions of the law. If you want to talk about John Mbadi, I believe John Mbadi is overqualified to be CS Treasury. Though there are some difference I have with him politically, but in this appointment, I agree that he is overqualified to lead this docket because he's a satisfied public accountant. And actually today I attempted talking to him, but there was no, I could have given him the rightful feedback. I think by next week we'll have an engagement with him. But he's going to work very well. And Opio Wandai has also worked sometimes in Sony Sugar, Awendo. He was the MD. And by that time, the industry was working so well. So I think these people, other than being rewarded as loyalists, they have also have some credentials. These are the kind of meritocracy which we are talking about, that if you want to appoint someone, look at the merits. Don't look at your friends. But my problem is only one, that these appointments have come to a point whereby Gen Zs are protesting. So even whether they are good appointments or bad appointments, they will be portrayed, or the public will portray them as those people who are hijacked Gen Zs protest to join government. That could not be the case, but it will be portrayed in the public domain that, okay, because the Gen Zs were protesting, now Raila has taken advantage to reward his loyalists at the expense of the death of Gen Zs. I think that is where there is a point of departure. I agree with everything. But my point of departure and disappointment is that they have come, the timing was wrong. They have come at a time whereby Gen Zs went to the road to demonstrate and they have lost their lives, but now they have hired ODM people to represent this government. That is where there is my point of departure. I agree with everything, but my point of departure is they have been made in a wrong time, whereby the people who are supposed to be rewarded are in accordance with the demands or grievances of the Gen Zs. So let us give them time. We are here to see.
Okay, thank you.
Let me respond kindly because I've been mentioned. My good friend Judith Ruth, I think that yesterday Megoda was saying I'm ready for Tuesday. Today is happy. Anyway, okay. Not that I'm just trying to say, not that I'm not ready for Tuesday. I'm ever ready for everything. I'm just trying to say that based on these appointments, they have come to a point whereby they can be portrayed the public domain that they have hijacked our demonstrations. Yeah, that's my main point.
Okay, thank you. I've heard your comments, but I wanted to say this. It's Raila Amolo Odinga who issued a statement some days ago that as much as they had started conversing with the government, he laid down, he brought up some very serious message, and he said that he's not going to he's not going to onboard that agreement before the government looked into the serious issues, among which were one, the injustices, the deaths that we saw, that those families were supposed to be compensated. They were supposed to be the justice that the young people actually were also talking about had to be looked into. But again, we've seen the president has given the list, and among the list we're just seeing ODM and close allies of Raila Amolo Odinga. Sometimes back we saw Azimio constituent parties, they had a presser and they said that they were not going to have a conversation with the ruling party. They gave their reasons, and true to their word, we didn't see any honorable member being appointed from those other parties. Now, my question to you is, Azimio, I mean, ODM has now joined government. Constitutionally, they are working with the government, so they have left Azimio. Do you really think that ODM will leave the post, for example, this one of minority leader to the remaining parties in Azimio, because constitutionally they have left and they're no longer now performing, they're now they are no longer in the minority party. The ODM party has been preaching to us how democratic they are and how they are following the constitution. Do you believe or do you think that they are going to do the same way they had given pressure to the Jubilee, the likes of the honorable members, the likes of Sabina Chege, when they were being removed from the positions which they were holding, being that they were part of the minority? Do you think that ODM will do the same? Are we expecting that, Mr. Barak?
Well, before I respond to your question, please allow me to say something about the last statement that Migudat said about his point of departure. I just want to comment about that. There was a guy during Bill Clinton's time as president of the U.S. I think he was one of the White House like equivalent to a state house controller here in Kenya. He said that you do not allow a crisis to pass without taking advantage of it. And I think that is what has just happened in this country. When the breach of parliament took place in this country, that was a crisis moment for this country. And the Gen Zs made a point that made the president to withdraw this finance bill. And when the president called for what he called a multi-sectoral dialogue, and the Gen Z said, we are leaderless, we are tribeless, we are faceless, we are everything less, they missed an opportunity. Because, this is why I'm saying this, policies are not made on the street. Policies are made on policy or on the table. If you do not force your way to be included on the table, then you cannot force policies anywhere in the world. They could have capitalized on that advantage, and I believe you me right now we could have been having 2 nominees from their own list that they presented. But since they declined that offer, that is when now Ruto, being a politician, and Raila being a politician, for some time now, Ruto have been wanting to release some of his cabinet members, but he has never gotten that opportunity. Because these people have been holding Ruto hostage, the likes of Moses Kuria. You remember even what happened with the agriculture minister, and he went to parliament, he bought his way back to the cabinet. So Ruto has been wanting to do away with some of his cabinet, but he has never gotten that opportunity. I can assure you, if Ruto could have done this appointment of ODM members without having such a crisis, you could have seen a lot of resistance from Mount Kenya region. That's a fact. But since Ruto gotten an opportunity, what we can call a Kairos moment, he has used it very well, and ODM has also used it very well, and this is a crisis that you could have not let go just like that. Now, coming back to ODM in parliament, we only have two parties, majority and minority. Now, how many? The majority party in parliament is UDA. Yeah. So which party is number 2? Even if you combine Jubilee members plus YPAS members plus DAP members, they cannot be equal to. They cannot even be half to the ODM members. So how are they going to occupy minority position? Yeah. And if, God forbid, ODM members walk to the other side of Jubilee of Kenya Kwanza member, they cannot even fit. So it is not proper to imagine that now we are going to have minority leaders from Wiper or from Jubilee or from, well, Jubilee right now they have only 4 members. The rest defected to Kenya Kwanza. Wiper, I'm not sure if they are even 20. So it means that pardon?
Allow me to ask you this. If you remember the dispute that we were seeing within Azimio immediately after election, when some members of Jubilee had left to Kenya Kwanza, we saw even the court pronounced itself and said that once a member of parliament crosses to the other side, they lose. They are no longer part of the side that they have left. And that is the reason why the court also allowed that the post that was being held by Sabina Chege, Honorable Sabina Chege, since she had crossed to the other side, that post was supposed to be given to a member who was still on the other side. If we use that analogy or that same thinking, I think constitutionally, if ODM has crossed to the other side, they no longer become part of the minority. So, is that not what we should then expect? Because the moment the ODM got into a relationship, a working relationship with the ruling party, of course, there are still those parties that they left at the Azimio who we still view them as the opposition leaders or the minority. Because now that the ODM has members of cabinet coming from the same party, meaning they are on the table with the UDA. They are making policies at the high table. There are those minority who still has a different opinion. So constitutionally, I believe that is right, that they are supposed to release to leave the post that they are holding and give them to those parties which are still remaining within Azimio. Is that not? What's your clarification on that?
My clarification is that in Parliament is guided by standing orders. And I believe standing orders will guide on what will happen. I remember during Raila's working agreement with Uhuru Kenyatta, and that issue came to Parliament, and you know what happened. ODM still occupied the minority positions, and I don't know the wiper. You know, standing orders guides on what happens in Parliament. But my point is, ODM as a party is the minority in terms of they have the largest number of minority in terms of members. So if standing orders will dictate that now they vacate, to in fact that will even be worse, because now you will have a minority of less than even 30 members of parliament, which is a disaster in a house of more than 290, more than I think 356 or 46 elected members of parliament. So that is neither here nor there, because I know even in UDA we have people like Gadhoni wa Mushomba, who is an opposition member. She's a member of UDA, elected in UDA, but has been a member of opposition since she has been opposing Kenya Kwanza's policies in parliament. So sometimes you remember even Jubilee, when Ruto shifted parted ways with Uhuru, his allies became members of opposition in parliament, and they were occupying the seats of the majority, but opposing anything that came from the government. And while the minority side of ODM,
if you
they
remember
were
that,
supporting.
they were relieved of the roles. So that I think also connects to what I was asking.
They were relieved of their roles because.
Remember, Duale
Pardon?
was the member of my majority leader, but immediately they started parting ways, relieved that duty. Remember, Murkomen was the majority leader in the Senate. He also had the same case.
But it was not that the standing orders was saying so. It is because that was now the party discipline. Because you cannot represent a party that you don't believe in this policy. So you cannot go to occupy to benefit from a position while opposing the party that has given you that position. It is not that the constitution dictated. So you know that there's something that is not the constitution that guides. It's about standing orders that parliament and also these positions in parliament, they are given by political parties. When you are a chairperson of a certain committee, you are a minority leader, majority leader, those are political parties' positions, and they can strip you off those positions anytime they deem like. Therefore, it's not more of the constitution dictates, because parties have been given freedom to decide who represent them where. And I would like, for example, this issue of ODM members being given cabinet slots. It is ODM leadership that has decided that we are going to give so and so and so and so to represent us in the government side. Yeah. So as long as I still insist, the minority leadership in the house still remains, and you will see that whatever we are discussing today will come up in the house, maybe even before the end of this week. But you will see the ruling of the speaker about, because I know the standing orders will guide. What was the other question?
I think you've tackled you've tackled it the way I'd brought it up. So maybe we hear from Miguda. Miguda, what's your take on that? And again, we didn't see the appointment of the AG. Maybe you can give your reasons why you feel or you think the president didn't give a name on that.
I think I'm not far away from Barack, because whatever Barack is saying is the truth. Because, it's about representation of the people and also the legislature, because parliament forms the part of the legislature. You see, in parliament, particularly National Assembly, we have provisions that there is majority party and minority party. The party with the highest member of parliament forms the majority. The party the second largest forms the minority. So in this our case, UDA is the majority party and ODM is the minority. So the fact that I told you earlier that Mr. Ruto has given Odinga an offer, and Odinga has accepted that offer. So they're in a contractual agreement, but it doesn't cease ODM to become the minority party. ODM, there are those seats which are preserved exclusively for the minority party and majority party. Seats like majority leader are exclusively for majority party, minority leader for the minority party. And there are also some seats like maybe public account committee, public investment committee. Those are exclusively for the minority party. So the reference of the constitution, so it was that the party that forms the majority of members in parliament, automatically they will form government. So they must have the majority party. You brought in the case of the 12th parliament when Duale was scraped off. But remember, Jubilee was still the majority party. Though your officials were changed, but the majority party still remains Jubilee. Even right now, because Opiyo and I has left to executive, it means we are going to find another ODM to replace Opiyo and I in that minority, because ODM forms the minority party. So it's going to be Junet Mohammed and somebody else, maybe Otinda Molo, maybe Opondo Kaloma, but I suspect Opondo Kaloma, because Opondo Kaloma was very vocal. He was pushing party to go away and Opiyo and I, so that he can occupy that position. Watch Opondo Kaloma. They're going to give it to Opondo Kaloma, because if someone is pushing someone to go, so that he can occupy that seat. And also Babu Owin is likely to be the PAC chairman, Public Account Committee, because Babu has stated right now in his statement, if you go to his X account 2 hours ago, he said that I'm not boarding, I'm not joining the defunct government, I'm firmly in a position with the people, and tomorrow I'll make my statement. So being in a position here, it means that he's going to be the PAC chairman, so that he can be a watchdog to this government, because you can't be opposition the way Barack have said it. Opposition here in this constitution, you must be in parliament, the minority party. They are the opposition, so you must be in parliament. You must oppose that government in parliament. Minority leader, minority whip, and the PAC chair. So Babu is heading to PAC chair, and Opondo Kaloma is going to occupy that seat of Opiyo and I. So saying that, you are saying that ODM is going to cease to the minority party, according to the standing orders, it is not applicable. And our speaker, Mr. Wetangula, understands law very well. And in his interpretation, because this your argument will appear in parliament, it's going to appear in parliament. It's good you have brought it here. I think Mr. Wetangula will rule that let standing order remains the way it is, because we have the precedent in the 12th parliament. The leadership was changed from Duale to Amos Kimunya, but Jubilee did not cease to be the majority party. So you can just change officials, but the parties remain to be the majority or the minority. But you cannot interfere with the provisions in the standing order as provided in the parliament. You have asked me about the issue of AG. Interesting times. Ruto has given Odinga an offer. Odinga has accepted this offer. So they are in a contractual agreement. Odinga has rewarded his ally, his loyalist. So Odinga has taken 4 positions. I think this AG, they are still in agreement who to occupy it, because I had it on X Donald B. Kip Korir, he was writing, or he wrote that he has been approached, or there are rumors that Donald B. Kip Korir, being an ally of Odinga, should take the AG position. But Donald B. Kip Korir, being Donald B. Kip Korir, he has declined that offer. So they are still looking for someone who is competent. Maybe people like Professor Makau Mutua, those are Odinga's guys, might come. So this AG position is preserved for Odinga in this their contractual agreement. So because they have approached Donald have declined the offer. So it was not convenient to declare AG today because they were supposed to name Donald, but Donald have declined based on what he has wrote on his X. So this AG position is for Odinga, and they are still looking for someone who is competent, like Donald or other persons. If at all Orengo could not be, if Orengo could be a senator, Orengo could be the next AG. So I think let us live with these facts. Not that I'm in government. Me, I'm not in government. Me, I'm in a position. I'm with the likes of Babu Owino. Let our viewers get it very clearly. My point is very clear that those people who have joined government, they have joined on their own volition under the agreement between Odinga and Ruto. But as for me and other people, Gen Zs, we have our own leaders within parliament, the people who are represented at the minority level. So let's follow those people. So I think Makubura, the reason why this position was not named is simply because the person who was supposed to be named AG declined. So we are still looking for another day, maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday or next week, Monday. Yeah.
Okay. Very fast. I want to ask you. There was this rumor that Raila met with Uhuru and they had some discussions. And from the rumor, we had it that it could be that the former president was trying to tell the premier, Raila, not to accept the offer and that he should reject it. After that, Raila came back and he gave a statement that was contradicting their previous agreement. My question to you is, what do you think about this whole thing of Uhuru telling Raila not to accept this? And again, there was also a rumor that Uhuru had told the former premier that he should not be too much on the AU seat, that maybe he'll help him in the campaigns of 2027. But again, I also want to hear from you very fast. You'll make it short. In ODM, we saw that the governor of Siaya, Babu Owino, they're still having a contradicting opinion. And what are we going to see? Does it mean that the likes of Babu Owino, they're going to chat their way? And again, you've also told us that in his hex, he said that he would give a statement and that he's not going to be part of that government. What do you think? Are they going to get out of ODM and chat their way? Maybe you can tackle that very fast, and then I'll have one last question before we end the show. Mr. Barak, you can go first.
Well, the rumors about Raila meeting Uhuru and Uhuru promising to help him in 2027, if Uhuru was not able to help him in 2022 when he was the president, he had all the state machineries. He was not able even to get him 25% of Mount Kenya votes. Now that he's now a mwananchi wa kawaida, how is he going to manage that? I think that was just a big joke. If you look at how Uhuru and Raila, Uhuru lied to Raila and his people from Mount Kenya that he has climbed the mountain. Eventually, when votes were cast, he realized that he was never even near the mountain. He was far away from the mountain. So those are just hearsays that, and if that was really a meeting and that is what they discussed, I think it's only a fool who can believe that he can be helped again. And again, what are the chances of Raila becoming the president in this country? The chances are zero. His last chance was 2022. In 2027, Raila is going to be, I think, 83 years old. You saw Biden withdrawing from the race at 81. So you want to tell me that Raila at 83 will be elected president? Seriously? I think it is time for him to accept that the presidency of Kenya has slipped off his hands. The last chance he had was 2022, and maybe he can get this AU thing if the government campaigns for him seriously. But in terms of presidency, so let him just work with what is at hand. You know, we usually say that a tree can only falls on someone who is nearby. So right now, what's available is what is being offered by, because Ruto now has the presidency. And you remember when Raila was working with the Uhuru, Raila never got any position in cabinet. They only had some few slots in CAS like David Osiani and few ambassadors, but he never got any slot in the cabinet. So Ruto has tried to give him 4 slots in cabinet, which is a big thing, because this is just by agreement, gentleman's agreement. It is not by right, because Ruto is the one who won election and he has the right to govern until 2027. So any other thing that Uhuru right now is a retired president. In fact, he should be a statesman right now. He should be coming up with solution and not obstructing people who want to bring solutions to the crisis that we have in this country. And I think you asked 2 questions. I just responded to them, right?
One for the Babu Owino and the likes of Governor Orengo having a divergent opinion on working the government.
My opinion is that Orengo should just focus on serving the people of Siaya. Orengo has not done anything serious, and I think he's more focused on national politics, forgetting that he's a governor of Siaya County. He's just messing up the Siaya the way Ruto is messing up Kenya. So instead of him focusing on his work, we elected him to serve in Siaya County. He's not doing that. He's focusing on what is happening in Nairobi. The people of Siaya County expect medicine in hospital. They expect teachers. They expect roads. They expect so many things from him. And I see I think Orengo was an activist, and he was a very good legislator in parliament and in National Assembly and also in Senate when he became a senator. And he also a good litigant. If you take it to the courts of justice, Orengo does very well. But I think this issue of administration, the one that he was given, this of managing the Siaya County, he's not doing very well because his focus is somewhere else. So I think he should just focus on serving the people of Siaya County. Babu Owino is in parliament. Allow him to talk the way Orengo is talking. Even though I believe there's freedom of expression, but he is a governor. He should focus on serving the people of Siaya. I think he's the only governor who is more focused in what's happening in Nairobi, more than the 46 governors we have in this country. So my humble request to Governor Jimmy, please serve the people of Siaya for now until 2027. You might even be surprised if you don't get that seat again, because I believe 2027 you will not hang on Raila's coat again. It will be you and your track record, what you will have done for 5 years in Siaya County. Babu Owino, my advice to Babu Owino is that he has a future in this country. He should not be limited to ODM. If he wants to chart his way, let him get out of ODM and start his own journey, because ODM has its owners, and maybe those owners have their own a different agenda. And my colleague has just said that Babu Owino might get the PAC seat, but you should remember that PAC seat is a reserve of ODM. So ODM is the one that will decide to give him or not. So those are the issues that you usually see political parties. If they see that you are not reading from the same script with the owners of the party, because we believe in Kenya, parties are owned by individuals, and that is why you heard Kaluma yesterday telling Sifuna that you are holding that position as an interim. You are not elected by anybody to be in that position. So when you hear such comments, you know that there are people who own this party. So if they decide to give you something, they will give you, and if they decide to frustrate you, they can frustrate you. So if you want to have a freedom of doing whatever you want, chart your own way. And that's why you usually hear the people of Mount Kenya saying they did very wrong by going to general election in 2022 by another person's party. So they don't have their own party. So it means that it is limiting their bargaining power. So I think that Babu Owino, a very young politician, a promising leader, he has a very bright future in politics. If he believes that he cannot support what ODM is doing, let him jump out. And this is what made Raila to be very strong. Raila resigned from parliament in 1996 when he disagreed with the late Kijana Wamalwa in Ford Kenya. And Raila resigned from parliament as a member of Ford Kenya, and he vied in a by-election in Langata constituency as a member of NDP, and he became elected. And that is the vehicle that he used in 1997 to start now mobilizing people to follow him. And by the end of that election, he had around over 10 or around 20, I think about around 20 members of parliament behind him. And that gave him bargaining power that even Moi had to sit him down and listen to him. And that is how Moi gave him cabinet slots in his cabinet in 2001. And that is why he became a force to reckon with in 2002 elections. And since then, Raila has been forming his own house, what we call political party. So I think Babu Owino can also do something radical right now, because that is in this moment of crisis, you can take advantage of this crisis and do something radical, and that something radical can build you or break you. And I know as a leader, you are not supposed to be afraid of anything. Make a radical decision, move forward, and you will see people will follow you, and people who believe in you will follow you. But if you just clean on ODM and you see that ODM has owners who believe on other things, I believe he will be limiting his potential as a young politician in this country. Thank you.
Miguda, what's your take on the difference opinion you're seeing in Babu Owino, James Orengo, and is continue?
First, you have two questions. The first one, the Uhuru holding Raila back not to form an agreement with Ruto for AU seat. Even I just want to treat it as a rumors, and I will not respond to it. Let it be rumors the way it is outside there. My colleague Barak has really roasted Orengo. I don't know what Orengo did to him, but anyway, that's no. But at least you are fair to my brother Babu Owino. At least you are fair to Babu Owino. So I think Orengo has not moved on from national politics. He's still having some hangovers about national politics. He hasn't moved on. So I think what he's trying to do is trying to align himself with the youths. But what ODM has done, what Raila has done, Raila is, not sometimes, but Raila is always making decisions based on the loyalty of a person. Raila has rewarded all his loyalists and those who were there by 2007 or from 92. He has made Orengo governor for Siaya. He has made Anyang' Nyong'o governor for Kisumu. He has made Utila Yako governor for Migori. He has made Mbadi today National Treasury. He has made Opiyo Wandayi the cabinet secretary for energy. He has made Joe governor and Oparanya. To an extent, he has also made them CS. Ruto today is the president. Mudavadi is the prime cabinet. Junet Mohammed is a minority whip twice. So Babu Owino, these ODM people, according to Raila is saying that Babu Owino just came in 2017. So those people who came late, like Babu Owino, their time is not yet for reward in ODM, according to Raila. But Babu Owino is also telling us that your ambition is not more special or important than his ambition. And number two, that we did not brought him into politics. He came by himself. So I'll concur with Barack. Babu, let him not break that table. Let him leave that table for ODM because he's not going to break it. The way Raila choreographed his movements, now Babu is limited in ODM because Babas make sure that there is the room for succession. You have to queue. After him, there will be some people because he has put 2 deputies. After him, Joho Oparanya, National Chairman Badi, National Vice Chairman Simbarati. So Babu should not imagine of breaking that table. He's not going to break it. Let him make his own table and invite his guests in that table. That's the way forward for Babu Owino.
Okay, thank you. On Sunday, 12th March 2023, the Deputy President said, and I quote, "Even if he, Raila Amolo Odinga, goes to the streets rioting, hoping the president will invite him for a handshake deal, that will not happen. I will be roaming in the state house compound so that when this mzee tries to sneak in through the back door, he finds me there." End of quote. My question to you, my panelist. Today, we saw a good number of ODM members being appointed as cabinet secretaries. What, from where you see it, the deputy president was actually besides the president, together with the prime minister, super, I don't know what minister. My question to you guys is, what do you think the deputy president is going through currently? And again, especially when we look at the tough stance that he had taken before. Maybe Barack.
I think Kenyan politics is so complex and very confusing at some point. But I think Bwana Rigiji was just playing politics, trying to excite his audience, because the late Saitoti once said that it comes a time when the nation becomes important more than an individual, and such times as this, that's when you realize that Kenya is bigger than any one of us. So Gachagua was just exciting his audience, assuring them, because he was telling Raila that they fear him because when he came close to Uhuru turned against them. So he was saying that if we come again close to Ruto will turn against them. So those were just political statements that I think they don't hold much water. So even if we start now digging what every politician said, I saw even today what Ruto said, not Ruto, Joho, that mimi siwezi ongea na Ruto, niongee naye nini, anipe nini, wheelbarrow. So you sure today he was named as a cabinet. So people have so many things that they said before, but those are just politics. They hold no water when it comes now to dealing with serious issues that are affecting the country. Yeah, I think that is my comment about that.
Megoda.
I also today on my way from Thika, when I was approaching Kasarani, Thika Spyway, we met Rigiji around 4:30 p.m. So by the time there was traffic. So when Rigiji was passing, the same question came into my mind, and I said that okay, maybe he's going back to the village because he was using Thika Spyway, that road. I said okay, maybe he's going to the village to re-strategize. But let me tell you one thing: do not underrate Rigiji. Underrate Rigiji at your own peril. Rigiji, he might look someone who is a villager, who is not educated, but in the real sense, that guy is very cunning. That guy was almost overthrowing Ruto if were not Raila who has come to intervene. And Rigiji is always ahead of the game. Rigiji, whatever Rigiji can see, even President Ruto cannot see. So Rigiji was almost taking over the government. That is only through Raila intervention that has saved Ruto. So Rigiji, he pretended sometimes that he has gone to the mountain to pray, to fast, to meditate for 1 week. No, Rigiji was somewhere strategizing. Currently, by the time we met him today, the same thing came into my mind. I said, okay, this guy has gone back to the village to re-strategize. According to me, never underestimate or underrate Rigiji, because Rigiji might pull a surprise. Rigiji might sacrifice and support. This is my own opinion. He might decide to support Kalonzo 2027. And you understand the nature of politics of this country. If Mount Kenya vote block, there's no chances for you to beat that candidate. It has happened in the previous elections. So maybe Rigiji has been disappointed with Ruto, number one, because Ruto has invited Raila. Ruto has invited Raila and has ignored Uhuru. So Rigiji is like he has been used by Ruto to attack Raila, to attack Uhuru. At the same time, Ruto has invited Raila and is working with Raila together to an extent of a Kikuyu losing the National Treasury cabinet slot. Njuguna has lost that slot to Mbadi, who was an enemy to Rigiji. So Rigiji has gone a lot through this agreement. He has lost some of his allies in the cabinet. And as usual, a politician, you must strategize. When Odinga fired Ruto as CS for agriculture in 2007, Ruto did not forgive Odinga. You see what he you know, by the time we were going for election in 2013, already Kibaki was a Kikuyu. Ruto said that we as Kalenjins, we have problems with Kikuyus. But no, let us support Uhuru. We will discuss our grievances later. Let me postpone my fight with Uhuru in future. But for the sake of Raila not becoming president, I'm going to give you another Kikuyu. From Kibaki Kikuyu to Uhuru Kikuyu. It means Ruto did not forgive Odinga. Similarly, Rigiji has suspended his fight with Ruto. They will fight. Ruto has also suspended his fight with Rigiji. They will fight. But Rigiji is really disappointed in Ruto. That's a fact.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to share with you something that I can say it's an hypocrisy. As to, there's this voice, you can listen to it kidogo.
Kama kuna mtu ako na namba ya William Ruto, arekodi hii video mtumie. Maisha yangu tangu nizaliwe sijawahi kuona mtu muongo, mfisadi, baradhuli, dhabdhabina kama William Ruto.
Let's wait and see what will come to pass. We are hoping that they will get to understand each other. So as we close, allow me to say this, that we saw what the president did, yes. We are not sure how the young people will take it. We are yet to see. So we will give them time to do the analysis, and we hope that they will give their feedback in the coming days. So before I end the show, allow me to take this opportunity to thank our panelists, Miguda and Barak. I'm sure it's late. You'll not want to say something unless any one of you wants to say something.
Okay, just to conclude, I'd just like to say politics is just about interest. No permanent friends, no permanent enemy. So just those, for the people who are disappointed today, take it easy. It's politics. Just move on.
Okay, thank you, Barak. Do you have something to say?
Yeah, just want to thank all the viewers who joined and for making this show happen. And just as my colleague Migud have said, politics about interest and also politics about power. If you are in politics and you don't know how to strategize to get power, you will not make it far. So politicians strategize on how to acquire power, because once you have power, you can control resources. And politics. There's a scholar who who define politics as authoritative allocation of resources and values. And another one describe politics as who gets what, when, and how. So it's about power, resources, and interest. And interest comes personal interest first, then interest of the nation second. And then take it easy. Mandago alisema usiweke politics kwa roho, weka kwa lungs. Ukipumua inatoka, so that you don't get angry for nothing, for things that you cannot control. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm also taking this opportunity to thank all our viewers. We're very much grateful. Thanks for the support. We will always try our best to do the right analysis. We are trying to be consistent. Thank you for your support. And I am taking this opportunity to wish all of you a blessed night, and see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.